It might be the biology nerd in me coming out, but I really appreciate that this family's called the Clades. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about Disney's 2022 animated sci-fi adventure film, Strange World. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. Strange World stars the vocal talents of Jake Gyllenhaal, Dennis Quaid, and Jaboukie Young-White, and was directed by Don Hall. It tells the story of explorer family, the Clades, who venture underground to investigate the cause of their failing energy source. When you think of Disney animation, what kind of movie comes to mind? A princess tale like Cinderella? Maybe a talking animal film like Lady and the Tramp or The Lion King? Or what about an adaptation of a fairy tale like The Little Mermaid? Chances are good that the first Disney movie that comes to mind for you is a musical, likely with some sort of fantastical element, like magic or talking animals. That's partly due to the fact that some of Disney's best movies fall into these categories, but it's also a bit of a numbers game too. There are just way more Disney musicals than non-musicals. But although rare, non-musical adventure films from the studio are nothing new, and Strange World continues with that tradition, drawing upon not only previous animated adventures like Treasure Planet and Atlantis: The Lost Empire, but also pulp magazines of the 40s and 50s, as well as Disney's own live-action adventure output from that same era. Although this type of film is fairly rare within the studio's animated canon, Strange World is packed with familiar ideas. Some may say the film as a whole is excessively familiar, and it certainly wears its inspirations on its sleeve, but I don't think that fact alone can be taken as a negative in this case. The film has a lot of really good components to it. Ideas, themes, designs. It's just a bit underwhelming in its execution. The story's okay, there's just not all that much to latch onto plot-wise. We get some limited time in Avalonia to set the stage for the mission, but it's rushed and it doesn't do a great job of cementing any real stakes. But maybe this is more of an exploration film than a story-driven one, right? Well, there's a surprising lack of world building here too. The world design is very cool, and the animation puts special focus on the landscape and inhabitants of the strange world, but without an engaging plot to ground it, much of the film feels like an otherworldly nature documentary, just without the informative narration or context. As a result, this movie kinda just glides along without making any strong impression. Although it's a touch meandering, it's not a directionless film. There is a mission and end goal driving the plot, but as I previously mentioned, the execution is lacking. There are some awe-inspiring exploration scenes and a good deal of mostly fun action sequences, but it's all the in-between stuff that bogs the story down. Without having spent much time in Avalonia, the mission only seems important because we're told it's important. But that alone isn't enough to get the audience invested. And so, without those story stakes, there's an almost lackadaisical lack of urgency when the characters aren't actively engaged in some sort of action scene. Instead, the movie tries to take a more character-based approach, which admittedly has some potential, but it gets very sluggish and devolves into repetitive family drama. Despite its action-adventure exterior, Strange World is a film that goes heavy on the themes. The most upfront and repeatedly circled back to is that of father-son relationships, specifically as they relate to expectations and family legacy. We get not one, but two of these father-son relationships across 3 generations of the Clade family. The ideas themselves are worthwhile to explore, but this film just doesn't let up on it. Nearly every moment of downtime between action sequences is devoted to some father-son conflict. It's constant, and just feels like overkill with its messaging, especially since it doesn't really do anything unexpected on this front. Slightly less heavy-handed are the environmental themes. The seeds of these ideas are planted early on in the film, and are recognizable throughout if you're looking for them, but they only really start to come to the forefront during the 3rd act, along with a somewhat unsurprising, but satisfying moment of realization. Strange World was never destined to become a Disney classic. It'll garner a small but passionate cult following, like the studio's other non-musical adventure films have, but it was never gonna be the first movie to come to anyone's mind at the mention of Disney animation. But that's okay. Not every movie has to be a classic. Admittedly, it seems like Disney kinda gave up on this one before it even had a chance, with its conspicuous lack of marketing or promotion, but it's a serviceable family adventure film. There's not all that much that's remarkable here, except perhaps the refreshing inclusivity and diversity of characters, but it's not a bad movie. It's just, strangely, lacking. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number one has gotta be the themes. So I was a little hesitant to put this as the first pro because I'm a little mixed on this aspect. I really appreciated the environmental themes at play and enjoyed the thing we're made aware of during the third act, which I'm not gonna spoil, but that's probably largely the bio nerd and teacher in me. The family themes here and father-son expectation concept are good as well and worthy of the pros, but man, do they belabor that messaging. Not only is it on the nose, but holy crap is it repetitive. The second pro is the animation. Although it makes use of some fun and short 2D sequences, this is another three-dimensional CG Disney film, and as expected, it looks great. The character design is pretty nice, with mostly grounded but still exaggerated features in that round, cartoonish kind of way, but it's the environments that really impress here. Even with the limited color palettes, the landscapes and creatures of the titular strange world are fascinating to look at, and certainly something to behold. On the con side, the biggest issue is the pacing. For an adventure film, there's a startling lack of urgency to the story, and so apart from the action and chase sequences, this chugs along rather sluggishly. There are minimal stakes, even though they should feel high considering the future of a civilization hangs in the balance, and instead, this movie's bogged down by a stop-and-start style that devotes far too much time to overly familiar character drama. The second con is how repetitive this movie gets. This might sound like an unlikely con for an adventure film, especially one that explores a very diverse and strange world, but with its focus on three generations of fathers and sons, it gets tedious. The same fights are had over and over again. The same ideas are expressed over and over again. It's a movie that really makes sure you don't miss its intended points. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying Strange World or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give Strange World 3 out of 5 paws. It's a fun throwback to sci-fi adventures of the 50s with some vibrant animation, but features a lackluster plot and extremely repetitive character dynamics. I would recommend Strange World to fans of Disney's non-musical adventure films. If movies like Treasure Planet and Atlantis: The Lost Empire were your thing, you'll probably appreciate the exploration on display in this movie, though the story itself may be a bit lacking for you. Also, sci-fi adventure fans will enjoy the numerous references and homages to similar movies from the 50s and 60s. If you liked Strange World, I would recommend Treasure Planet. This is one of Disney's non-musical animated adventure films and puts a creative sci-fi spin on the story of Treasure Island. If you liked the character of Splat here, you're gonna love Morph in Treasure Planet. If you're interested in another of Disney's animated adventures, you should check out Atlantis: The Lost Empire. It's a non-musical sci-fi adventure that also features a group of explorers traveling underground to a very strange world. And if you're interested in a live-action adventure movie that helped to inspire this film, you might want to watch the 1959 version of Journey to the Center of the Earth, which was the first film adaptation of the Jules Verne novel of the same name. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen Strange World? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite movie about an expedition? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.